my note card. This is Dad, Kaylee, Cody, Tyler, and Kelly. Imagine that you're driving home on Christmas Eve coming from a Christmas party at your parents' house. In the car with you is your spouse as well as your 3 children. It's 11:30 p.m. and you are listening to Christmas jingles as your children excitedly talk about Santa Claus coming that night. Suddenly, your car stops and you spin in the road. You look behind you to notice all 3 of your children unconscious and your spouse is bleeding badly. You realize that you've been in an accident, and more specifically, you had been T-boned on the passenger side. The driver of the other car steps out while frantically screaming. She looks young. She tells you that she's sorry and that she must have been distracted. She calls 911, and next thing you know, you are in the ambulance with your small children and your spouse. This could have all been prevented. After countless hours of research, I want to persuade my audience to keep the driving age at 16 by knowing the facts of young drivers, the curfews and restrictions that many states already have in place, and how they work, as well as the chances of distracted driving among teens. So first, let's look at the facts. Car crashes are one of the biggest causes of deaths in America. I have a few facts on car crashes to tell you. Firstly, according to Very Well Family, car wrecks are the leading cause of death among teenagers and young adults. Secondly, according to Connect US, teen drivers are at a higher risk of accident or injury while driving than any other demographic. Also, according to Connect US, drivers who are 16 years older have the highest chance of ending up in an accident. Next, according to the gerontologist, young drivers are more likely to drive aggressively than any other demographic. There are many misconceptions about young drivers, such as, "It won't happen to me," or "It won't happen to my child." However, according to Connect US, 75% of serious car crashes among teens are caused by quick, critical errors that happen behind the wheel. Finally, according to Very Well Family, teens' brains are not fully developed, leading them to think they're okay, but behind the wheel, they tend to forget and not pay attention. Now that we have talked about the facts of young drivers, let's look at the curfews and restrictions that many states already have in place for teen drivers. Having curfews and restrictions in one place for young drivers can save lives. Curfews are in place already for young drivers in certain states. According to Very Well Family, approximately 2 out of 5 car crashes among teens happen between the hours of 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. Next, according to Connect US, most states have curfew restrictions for teens, and it has been so successful that they're considering putting a curfew restriction on first-time drivers ages 18 to 20. In addition, passenger restrictions are in place for young drivers in some states. According to Very Well Family, with each passenger in the vehicle with a teen driver, the chances of an accident increase. Lastly, according to Connect US, states that have passenger restrictions have been very successful, even so that they are considering changing these laws for all states. Now that we have looked at the facts and the graduated license programs, let's look at distracted driving among teens. Teens and young drivers are more likely to be distracted while driving than adults. Distracted driving is one of the leading causes of accidents among teens. According to Driving Assessment, phones are huge things in today's society, especially among teens. Most distracted driving cases among teens are because of cell phones. Also, according to Driving Assessment, young adults and teens typically have a slower reaction time compared to older adults, which is crucial, especially when driving distracted. In addition, alcohol and drug use is a big cause of car accidents. According to Age and Aging, young children are more likely to drive under the influence compared to somebody older. Also, according to Age and Aging, being under the influence of alcohol or drugs slows down the reaction time almost completely. I hope you all understand the chances of distracted driving among teens. In conclusion, now that you know the facts of teen drivers, the graduated license program for teen drivers, as well as the chances of distracted driving among teen drivers, I hope that I have prepared you to keep the driving age at 16, not to lower it. Let's look at the story of the very beginning of the accident that took the children's lives because a distracted 14-year-old was driving late at night. Now think of that same story, but with an older, more responsible driver. They would have more of a chance of stopping at the stop sign and being more careful. They would have stopped, seen you, and waited. You, your spouse, and your 3 children would have went home peacefully. You would have tucked them into bed, and Santa Claus would have left them presents under the tree to open first thing in the morning. Which story will you be a part of?